BYU to West Virginia. In the deepest quarterback conference in America, if your QB room's not good, are you not good? This is Locked On Big 12.
You are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy August, everybody. Football season is around the corner, and the Big 12 is the deepest conference when it comes to quarterbacks. But the teams that have question marks there, are they just automatically bad? I'm Drake Toll from America's #1 Big 12 podcast, Locked On Big 12. That's Cameron Stuart of Locked On Baylor, who is a quarterback expert. Thank you, Sawyer Robertson. Thanks for making our shows your first listen every single day. We will start there with the Big 12's big brands who need quarterback help. Then Baylor, we learned recently, lost a pivotal piece of its offense. Dawson Pendergrass will be out for the season. Does that tank the Bears' chance at a Big 12 championship? And we'll end it with Arch Manning. He's lost the locker room. He's lost the coaching staff, and he maybe has lost Texas the 2025 college football season. If you hit subscribe, we get to keep our jobs. Cam, let's start it with BYU. There's West Virginia. There's UCF. We can talk about Oklahoma State and Hoss Haney. That's a name. Committed to
that's a name every
one of the Big 12 schools, and then finally ends up at Oklahoma State. Beginning with BYU, I find it awesome that every day I open the Bird app, Twitter, and it's like, hey, BYU's got his guy. It's Bourget. And then the next day I open it, and like, Bear Bachmeier looks really good. and then a week ago it was McKay Hillstead is the guy. I have said this, and I'll continue to say it. I believe that BYU's quarterback situation is not the worst in the Big 12 because they don't really need a quarterback. They just need a warm body based on how they operated last year with a below-average Big 12 quarterback, Jake Retzlaff, 11th in QBR in the conference. But we're in August now, and if the rhetoric out of the program is like, wow, well, they all look good, that typically isn't the best sign.
Yeah, I mean, it's the old adage, right? Like if you have two quarterbacks, you have none. BYU's got 5 quarterbacks. They don't really have any. I probably took this a little more seriously than you did with the Retzlaff thing, because I get it. Like they had a great defense, man. Like that, they did not need a stud to win last year, to win 11 games last year. Yeah. It's just when I look at this conference this year, there's just such good quarterback play all the way around that it feels like it's not the year for your defense to carry you to a Big 12 championship. It doesn't feel like the year in the Big 12 that a Gary Bohannon is out there winning the Big 12 championship with a true freshman coming in to fill in for him. Like, you know what I mean? It's not, it doesn't feel like that kind of year. But maybe I'm wrong. I think when we look at some of the other teams that we're about to talk about that don't have a quarterback, I think their situations are worse than BYU. It's a tough one to call with BYU. But as you know, like I'm famous on this show in particular for talking about quarterbacks and how they project to be and, strengths and weaknesses and all that great stuff. I think BYU overcomes not having a great quarterback, but Retzlaff was good at kind of protecting the ball. Like he was not elite. He was not electric, but he got the car in the garage, man.
Got the car in the garage. I would agree with that. 12 picks.
And like right. It's not great. It's not like he didn't throw 20, but he didn't throw 7 or 8, right? 12 and 13 games is what it is. But very, very seldom was Jake Retzlaff catastrophic for you. And when you roll out one of these kids who's not taking a snap of college football, in college football, then it can get catastrophic.
They need a Gary Bohannon. They get the car in the garage.
Could use that, man.
Again. They don't need an elite quarterback.
They had a Gary Bohannon.
And this is it's Moneyball. It is they
making him up in the aggregate.
There, Gary Bohannon was named Gary Bohannon.
Yes,
it's Moneyball. His strengths,
he was David Justice. Yeah.
He will never throw an interception. His weaknesses, he's capped at 1 touchdown pass per game. That's it. After that, can't do it again. There's only one. But maybe if BYU gets that, they can still be a Big 12 contender. A couple of teams that hope to be contenders but don't have high expectations. West Virginia. Let's go there. Nico Marchiol. They have Henderson, who's also in the fold here, and Rich Rod has gotten to the podium and said, we got a lot of good quarterbacks. We have a lot of bad running backs. We have some good running backs. He's said a lot of stuff at the podium that I loved.
Rich Rod loves to talk, man. That dude is talking.
It is awesome. I love Rich Rodriguez's press conferences. The ice cream machine. He's old school football. Yeah. I don't hate Nico Marchiol. I do hate that we don't know the quarterback situation or have total confidence in the situation for West Virginia.
Yeah, I think that's what speaks louder. Like, you've got a no nonsense, no mess around old ball coach who's been around the block quite a few times. And I also don't think this doesn't necessarily fit West Virginia's situation, but we kind of saw it with like Baylor last year. Who knows when they knew DeQuan Finn wasn't the guy, but they were paying him a ton of money, so he had to be the guy. That's also something that I don't think Rich Rod's going to fall into, right? Like, if he's not been like, yeah, Nico Markel's our guy, that's who we're rallying around, he's really controlling the huddle, then that means he's not doing it. Like, if Rich Rod's not saying it, that means he's not doing it. And if he hasn't said, like, Nico's our guy, then that leaves it up to interpretation. That means there is a quarterback competition going on there. So that would kind of worry me as a West Virginia fan. But again, as someone who went to bring Baylor back into this, as someone who went through it last year, I said it a bunch. I'm like, hey, if DeQuan Finn's not named the guy, that could just mean their backup is that good. And I kind of said it half-heartedly and ended up being completely right. Sawyer Robertson was that good to push a real quarterback competition. Not good enough to win it, but good enough to push a quarterback competition. So maybe that's what you're looking at with Hendo at West Virginia.
Remember that one time UCF was the favorite in their game against BYU last year? Do you remember that?
UCF?
Genuinely insane. Genuinely. BYU
UCF
may have been undefeated at the time, by the way.
UCF.
They may have been undefeated. They went on the road to Orlando, and the Knights were favored. And
is that a conference game?
It is now. UFC? What did I? The Central Florida.
Dylan, I know Florida. Yeah.
Dylan Risk came into the game, and he was doing like the taunting and the, it's like, it's 34-7. But I remember.
Hey, that lead is not safe in the bounce house. Just saying.
I remember maybe the Utah game. So one of those games, Dylan Risk looked good, and I thought, hey, that's one of the things that UCF could be happy about. Now this year, I think them and Oklahoma State are both in a boat that has you ever seen the meme of the World War II plane and all of the holes that you could shoot into the plane and it still fly? Just the amount of just holes you can put into a plane. I think the holes are in the wrong spot for these two teams to be elite this year.
Yeah, and even honestly, we talk about the depth of this conference at quarterback. Even some of them, like, kind of middle of the road ones, are question marks. Like, right, Noah Fafita is a question mark at this point. Jalen Daniels is a bit of a question mark at this point. Connor Wegman's a question mark. And those are guys who have, for the exception of Wegman a little bit, those are guys who have been successful in this conference at the D1 level. You know what I mean? Like, they should be sure things, and they're not. So when you see ones that are really not sure things, all those teams we just talked about, I can't pick them over a team with an Avery Johnson or a Sam Levitt or a Sawyer Robertson or a Josh Hoover. It's just really tough for me to be like, that team's going to make the run. There you go.
That's
still moving.
You can put a hole in all of those spots and
hit with a few shells, but I don't walk with a limp.
Still fly the plane. Problem is the hole for those two teams is just right in the pilot's helmet.
It's cockpit. Done.
We're done.
Propeller and cockpit all taken out in one.
Not good. Coming up, Baylor. Dawson Pendergrass. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time's exactly where I go when the Red Clay Strays are playing 3 miles down the block, and I'd like to go see one of my favorite bands called the Red Clay Strays. So I just go on Game Time. Boop, 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 boop. Last second, best deals you can get, 60% off, up to 60% off, killer last minute deals. Tired of endless scrolling, trying to find the best deal? Game Time zone deals give you the best seat quickly. Panoramic seat view. Game Time, the price you see is the price you get, no hidden fees. Take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, that is guaranteed with Game Time. The China Spring Cougars run on Game Time.
I heard that.
Didn't know if you...
I think they're the only one, actually, in that state.
In
that
the
runs
state
on
of
Game
Texas
Time.
that runs on Game Time. Dawson Pendergrass. Good at football.
Yeah.
Two-headed monster with Bryson Washington, Sawyer Robertson, maybe the best wide receiver core in the entire Big 12, according to Pick 6 previews. That is the case. And now you go from Felix Jones and Darren McFadden to just Darren McFadden. Darren McFadden's good. But
He's pretty
man,
good. Yeah.
when you had Felix Jones, it was really cool. And that's where Baylor sits.
Yeah. I mean, on surface level, maybe this is the bright way of looking at it. And I think it's true. You've gone from having 2 of the top 5 running backs in the Big 12 to only having 1. And a lot of teams would kill for that. But we saw how well those guys worked in tandem last year. Like that was truly like it was really a key
with Richard
part.
Reese, by the way.
Dom Richardson, who could forget?
Dick Reese.
Dom Richardson fumbled to lose them a game last year, which is just crazy to even think about. But they had those 2 guys, Washington and Pendergrass, working in tandem, and that opened up a ton for a passing offense. And this is a legit hit here. Right? Like this is a big deal to lose him for the season. And to kind of go back to the McFadden Felix Jones thing here, it's like Bryson Washington was going to be your number 1 back no matter what.
Yes.
They were going to split fairly evenly, but Bryson Washington was the guy, right? Like maybe 65-35 kind of thing. He had 2 separate injuries that made him miss time last year and an injury the year before. Okay. One of them, he gets knocked out of the bowl game, probably a concussion. They said head injury. So maybe that's not more than 1 week, but he missed time at 2 different stints last year. The kid is the best guy you've got. He's super physical. The way he plays, he's going to run into some injuries. And if he does, then what? Then you got a redshirt freshman and 2 true freshmen who are super promising, but haven't played. That's where you start to get real concerned about this thing. 1 wrong hit to Bryson Washington, and your running game might be up a creek.
Here he comes. The door has opened. At 5'11", 235 pounds, the wily kid who used to pull the Jeep down the street in town, his name is Peyton Hillis. And when your Felix Jones goes down, that's when the world is introduced to the great Madden curse, Peyton Hillis, who was also in that running back room with Darren McFadden.
Yeah.
Will we see the birth of a PH in the Baylor running back room, or does this, alongside the injury woes with Bryson Washington, mean the Bears might not be as strongly in contention for the Big 12 title?
Well, I'll say it does, I think, hurt their chances at a Big 12 championship. Does it derail them? I'm not going to say that, but this is a legit contributor to an offense. An offense is going to win games for you. Like this is an offense, right? This is a scary good offense, and this is a big part kind of taken out of it. In terms of the Peyton Hillis thing, I was thinking about this after the injury was announced on Saturday. I want to say it's a little Saturday night news dump. Whatever happened to, like, for 2 years, Dave Aranda rolled out Dylan Doyle as a running back and a tight end in goal line situations and a fullback. And it worked like a charm. And then he just never did it again. He's had some good, really athletic linebackers and just has never done it again. I'm interested to see if there's something there. They also really like Micah Gifford, who was featured on Friday Night Tykes as a young man that they brought in from Pflugerville, Tyler Beatty's hometown. And he came in as a receiver. He's been playing special teams. Dave Aranda loves him. He's like, he can play anywhere. He's probably going to play defense for us this year. Does that guy maybe get some carries in there to avoid handing it off to a true freshman? There are some options. They've got some super athletic guys who, played a couple of different positions in high school. Every college team's got that. So maybe, but you do have a couple of 4-stars. You got Michael Turner as a true freshman coming off an injury. Caden Knighton didn't quite make a 4-star because he committed to Baylor as a junior, and that's surprised he didn't go down to a 1-star because of that. And so those guys have, and everyone's loving Caden Knighton in fall camp. One of his teammates said he's like a mini Camp Scadaboo. So maybe you got something out of those guys that are just going to, get carries earlier than expected. But yes, this is tough, man. It's tough. If Bryson Washington's Darren McFadden, though, they'll be fine. Like, if that's just a direct like comp and he just has a Darren McFadden 07, they'll be okay.
Yeah, I wish I could give you that he will be Darren McFadden, but that's
please. Can you give me 2 weeks, please?
It's a tall order.
Can't give you 2 weeks.
So you think? So we've mentioned Jake Retzlaff earlier, and a lot of people, even the BYU realm, say that, hey, without Retzlaff, BYU probably loses another game or two. Like that's what it's going to cost you not having your senior quarterback. Baylor coming into the offseason and now into the year, according to Pick Six previews, number 1 running back room, number 1 wide receiver room, number 2 offensive line in the Big 12. Pick Six previews really likes Baylor. They have them as the number 3 overall team in the conference behind Arizona State and Texas Tech. Now that you look like a West Virginia and you say, their running back room might be as good as Baylor's because they have Jaheim White, who's very elite. Now that you're down to like the one-headed running back room,
I mean, sure, but yeah.
And looking at, at Kansas State, who's going to be great at the position. Now, has Baylor lost some separation? Is there another loss in the fold here because you didn't have that second punch that could really get it done? Like if Richard Reese and Dom Richardson, as they did not pan out, Bryson Washington and Dawson Pendergrass did. So Bryson Washington regresses the way that Reese did. Now you're really in trouble if you're Baylor.
Well, yeah, and they definitely lost some ground in terms of the running back room rankings. I think there's plenty more problems at West Virginia that it doesn't kind of close the gap there. But it might cost them a game. It might cost them a game, and it's not going to be something where you say, "Oh, Bryson Washington didn't get in, and Dawson Pendergrass would have." It's not necessarily something like that. But I think back to like the BYU game last year where they fell behind early. They were down 14-0 by the time the stands were as full as they were going to be. And they had to throw every down. And Sawyer Robertson threw it 50 times in that game. And same thing that happened in the LSU game, in the bowl game. And Sawyer Robertson's a good quarterback, but there are like 2 quarterbacks in the country that can do something like that can just throw 50, 55 times a game and win a game for their team. Like that's a real elite group that we're talking about, especially against someone like a BYU or an LSU. Those are 2 terrific teams from a year ago. So it's going to be something like that where it's like, man, you don't have the fire and ice. Bryson Washington needs a little bit more of a breather, and you don't have an all Big 12 caliber running back who can go in there and you can still run a run play. There's going to be early on, Auburn, Caden Knighton's in the backfield and Baylor's down 7 or 10 points. They know the ball's not going to Caden Knighton, more than likely, right? It's going to be something like that where they're just not as scary. They're not as versatile. They're not as unpredictable to a defensive coordinator. That's where the loss of Dawson Pendergrass could cost you a game. So I don't think it derails their season, but it certainly makes this offense look different. And this offense is supposed to be like scary good. So I'll put it at a game.
Yeah. And if Baylor loses, Baylor could still, it's a tough schedule.
It is a really tough schedule.
It's just a tough schedule.
Yeah.
If you're playing the same schedule as BYU this year, I think Baylor's 10-2. I think Baylor's 9-3, 10-2. But you weren't blessed with that. You weren't graced with that. BYU really has. They have TCU, but that's a home game. They've got the road game against Iowa State and Texas Tech. Those are back-to-back with a bye week in between it, though. And the rest of it is pretty easy stuff for the Cougars. If Baylor had that, I have a lot of confidence in the Bears. And that's why I'm still so high on where BYU sits, because their schedule is pretty cake. Not a bad thing. Don't be you should be happy if you're a BYU fan and you hear that. Coming up, you shouldn't be happy
success
if you're a Texas fan. This is not good. Headlines are really not good out of Boston. Locked on Big 12. Arch Manning has lost the locker room in Texas. This is a Big 12 program that left. I hope that all of you Texas fans are, we're making $20 million more a year in the SEC. You will never see a dime from that. Jaden from Pflugerville, Danny from Lorena, Kevin from Coppell. Not a dime.
Skip from Groesbeck.
And now the Longhorns, Groesbeck, right? And now
still not.
No. Our Arch Manning has lost the locker room at Texas. Steve Sarkisian, dejected in a press conference, tells the media that he looks out, he's driving away from the complex, looks out his car, and what does he see? But Arch Manning is leading his own player walkthrough. So number one red flag here is losing trust in the coaching staff.
Players only meeting before they've even played a game. It's bad. It's bad news, man.
He has circumnavigated the coaches and said, I'm going to do this myself. Not only that, only half the team chose to participate in this. So he has, 1, gone around the coaches, 2, split the locker room in having his own walkthrough on the field. And we already know there have been issues with the culture under Steve Sarkisian. Remember the intern he yelled at that one time? Thought he was going to punch him. That was a really bad. Remember the monkey thing? Pole?
Yes.
Pole
assassin.
Pole assassin. We have seen some very interesting and odd culture things out of Steve Sarkisian in the program. And now there's this, the quarterback going behind the coaching staff to lead his own team meeting, and only half the team showing up. I don't think this is reported by Ann Parker Coleman, by the way. She is KVUE. She had the official quote where Sark says that he was going home and Arch Manning was still there leading his own little powwow. Man, haven't listened to the press conference. This isn't good. This isn't something that I don't like if I'm a Texas fan.
It's not a great sign, is it? I don't think Vince Young ever let his player only walk through, and look what it did for him. Not a great look. When you are putting a ton of eggs in the Arch basket, and reasonably so, like the kid's an unreal prospect, and the little we saw of him last year, he looked really good. Looked like he was kind of worth that. But man, it does not induce any kind of confidence, especially with that Ohio State game looming early in the season, right? It's Ohio State. Is that it?
Yes.
Yeah. Like that's one of those where it's like you could be fed to the wolves if they're not ready to ride with this kid. And I think there was some talk like that when Quinn first got there. It kind of got alleviated pretty quickly. Like,
by the way,
Quinn Ewers was a good leader. It wasn't like a great quarterback, but
Quinn Ewers, who was never a great quarterback at Texas.
No, like
he never did anything special.
And it's, I would say,
you know
it's too bad.
You ready for this? Can I say this?
Oh, don't say it.
A worse Sam Ehlinger.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Gary Bohannon.
No, but at times I would have rather had Gary Bohannon, which is going to be crazy. Somebody out there is like, what are you talking about? Gary was at least safe. That one year Baylor won the Sugar Bowl. Guess what Texas couldn't do? Win the Sugar Bowl.
Facts. Sam Ehlinger did it. So
he did. And they were back after that.
They were so back. But yeah, I would say, like, I wouldn't say it's too bad for me because I like watching the Texas Longhorns lose. But if you're a UT fan, like, I think there's a lot left to be desired from the Quinn Ewers tenure. It's almost, they almost went on a rise in spite of him. Like, again, was he awful? No, not going to say that. But if they had a real legit kind of all-American level quarterback, which is what you'd expect at the University of Texas, if they had someone like that, we're probably talking about a national championship appearance. You know what I mean? Instead, you're talking about losing in the Final Four 2 years in a row with a quarterback that just didn't elevate you. You know, he just didn't make you any better, really, for a really good team. I think Arch is going to be better. Obviously, this is his first year, like, against real opponents, real SEC defenses. You got a couple of the Texas had a pretty easy schedule last year in the old Southeast Conference. He's going to be thrown to the wolves a little bit, and if he only has half his offense ready to rally around him, I don't like those numbers. Don't like those odds.
Arch Davis. Is Arch Davis the second best quarterback in the SEC?
Doubt it.
Huh. Arch Davis is probably in the same Austin Simmons category, or whoever Alabama has. That may be the Alabama quarterback, actually.
Simmons, that's when you make your player in college football 26?
Correct.
That's what it says at first, right? Before you change the name.
Okay. And Gunnar Stockton, same deal. Those are all just Arch Davis. Oh, but Arch Davis got adopted biologically by Peyton Manning's family. That's where the thing
I got
goes.
it. Okay.
Like, oh yeah, Cooper was the dad, but the last name's Manning. By the way, if only Cooper existed, had there not been the Archie, the Peyton, and the Eli, he really is just Arch Davis. We really are.
Yep.
He was good in high school, wasn't elite. His rankings were by and large because of his the name and the offers. Everybody wants a piece.
I don't know, man. I think you're wrong. I think the Herb Street kid is ready to take on that On3 national analyst job.
From that first interview.
Oh, sorry.
That was specifically done with one of his friends that he played football with. Played is a strong word. That he played football with. It was like, hey, bud, so how you doing?
Remember
Hilarious. Hilarious interview. Kirk Herbstreit, congratulations to your son for being hired by On3. While Cameron Stuart and I are over here, I mean, I'm filling up glasses of water in the hotel to put in my carry-on so I can just have running water at my house. But Kirk Herbstreit's son gets to work for On3.
I love seeing an underdog story like that.
This is a situation like that where we have built the hype around a last name. Now, maybe he's good. And look, kid, by all accounts, is awesome. Good kid. Family.
Does not seem like a douche. Like, really doesn't.
Good family.
And he has every excuse to be.
So I think that a lot of this stems from Texas just not having a good culture, from Texas not having a coaching staff that's ready for the good kid, that's ready for the good guy to come in and be the hero. Texas is great at playing heel. That's what they love to do. They love to be the bad guy. Arch doesn't fit that. I'm not going to put this on the kid. I'm going to put this on the program, and I think that's where the divide comes from.
And if that is the case, which I'm not in a position to disagree with you on this, from all that we've seen and heard, then that becomes like another question of one of these big mighty SEC SEC programs that just buys the best talent. I know you've seen these stories. I've seen these stories from kids committing to Baylor and Tech and TCU or whatever, and they're just saying, "Yeah, UT offered me this, but they didn't really care. They didn't care if I came there or not." And if you get into that boat, which you kind of need to some extent to be a real player in college football, I get it. But this is the risk you run. I don't care who my teammates are. I don't care where we're playing. I've got $600,000 in the bank. I don't care who my quarterback is. I don't care if I'm staying late after practice. There is some of that. There is. I don't want to sound like the old guy on Facebook, but there is some of that when that's the game you're playing. That's why, these programs like Georgia, for example, who are out on the recruiting trail like nobody else and have an excellent X's and O's man management football coach. Doesn't keep off the roads when he needs to. Doesn't do that. But Kirby Smart is a great engaged coach. Saban was the same thing. Steve Sarkisian, terrific offensive coach. X's and O's guy through the roof. But if Texas is going to take that next step, we need to have more confidence in the quarterback, Arch Davis. We need to have more people out there in the walkthrough. We need to have more of a connection with the staff and the players and all that.
Speaking of the old guy on Facebook, did you see Lamar Jackson adopted 17 orphans?
No way.
They live with him now. They had a picture of it and everything. Picture of
future
him.
Big 12 legend, by the way, Lamar Jackson, Louisville.
Correct. Picture of him with all 17 of them. I didn't know he had 6 fingers. That was new to me. That was weird. His hand looked odd.
The lighting was something too, if I remember the same picture. It was really something.
Yeah.
Everything was kind of brown in the background.
Yeah, kind of glossy.
The light shade, yeah.
Sure. But 17 orphans, congrats to Lamar on saving a lot of lives there. And on the 6th finger that he has on his right hand now, it gives him the NFL advantage. Cameron Stuart, at Real Cam Stewart still?
Yeah, still.
All
I got some fake ones coming up, though.
Good. Camerino. Real ones, no. Shout out Scotty B. Miss you.
Shout out, man.
I miss him.
The king.
I was with a former Baylor athlete this weekend, and she was like, man, I wish you and Scotty B would make up. And I was like, I do too. This has been It Always Will Be Locked On. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. It's crossover with Baylor. Dose Grande.